going on, everyone? My name is Max. I'm here at the offices of LUKSO, the future and current of social culture and creators, the blockchain. That Mr. Fabian is the person I'm going to interview right now, the founder of LUKSO and the co-author of ERC721 Standardization. I'm about to ask him a bunch of questions, personal, business, vision. Tune in. Let's learn all about it.
We're getting a camera into our room. Completely natural and completely coincidental.
Wow.
But let's have a chat.
Let's have a chat. What's going on?
Life is busy.
Yes.
Initiating an ecosystem is not a small feat.
How long has this journey been?
I mean, we started LUKSO in 2018.
Yeah.
And it all started out with the idea of creating a blockchain that's, on lifestyle and social, and then more on things that are outside of the financial space.
This is probably a huge inspiration, right? The pink pill, LUKSO. I mean, what's the meaning behind LUKSO even? Like, what's his name? Where did it come
LUKSO
from?
actually means luxury in Esperanto. And the way I read it is, everything above our survival level, you need to eat, you go to the bathroom, you need to have shelter. Everything above that is actually luxury. The fact that we can sit here, that we can communicate globally, that we can organize ourselves, and make events, travel, all of this is luxury. I mean, there's this thing that people say, an average person lives better than Rockefeller lived in 1920 or whatever, because we have pretty much a lot of luxury through, industrialization and all the things that we can produce. I think what we need to improve on is how we organize ourselves as humans. And so far, the way this worked is we had institutions, governments, kings in the past, and they kind of gave the structure to human society. But I think we're at this point now where we have technology that can help us do that. And blockchain is one of those.
Yeah.
And the luxury of LUKSO will be that we will be able to organize ourselves and let creativity run free and create a creator economy where people interact globally without boundaries and without the silos that we have today, where everything is just like a fragmented account in different platforms and stuff doesn't really belong to you.
Where did this really kick off for you first? Like, where is this whole thing of creating a blockchain around, creative expression and this, identity sort of thing? Because a lot of blockchains are focused on, different use cases, but you seem to be focused on this particular one. I mean, where is this originally, where is the kickoff point in your life coming from?
I mean, it all started out with, an idea from Marjorie, my co-founder, who basically thought about, hey, let's do something, with fashion and blockchain, and that sparked the idea of lifestyle. And for me, this really looked like the perfect Trojan horse to get the masses into using this technology. Because at the time and still today, it's all about trading and money, and now it's about meme coins. Back in the day, it was about DeFi, decentralized finance, and things like this. But ultimately, this technology, is useful for many things. Specifically for communities and organizations and creators, and the way we kind of interact, in the world. So, and our internet has brought us together. We were able to talk and communicate, but we aren't really able to transact, or we were only able to transact through kind of intermediaries like banks, PayPal or Venmo. And transacting, is not only about money. It's also transacting your reputation. It's transacting your data, the things you do online, and how this translates from one platform to another. And right now, everything is very isolated nowadays. So one of the core pieces of LUKSO actually is the universal profiles. And universal profiles is the first fully standardized smart contract account system that works not only as a wallet, but it also works as your profile. And with that, you bring in the whole social aspect into blockchain as well. You
got into coding, at an early age. What age was this? Like 14? Or?
I started, I started coding websites when I was 14.
Yeah.
That was my hobby. This kind of brought me into, obviously web development. And then in 2013, I heard about Bitcoin. and that really brought me into the blockchain space. And by chance, I literally became the lead DApp developer of Ethereum. I built the first Web3 browser. It was called the Mist browser. And with that, I was responsible for like developer tools or help with the developer tools, but also we built the first interfaces. So we had to figure everything out at the time. And in 2015, I proposed ERC20 based on a draft from Vitalik, and kind of kicked off this whole ERC, Ethereum request for comment, this standardization process. And nowadays we have thousands of these standards. And the reason why I started this standardization about universal profiles outside of the ERC space is to make sure that we have less noise and that we have the ability to really kind of build and reinvent the new building blocks in the right way, without that we have hundreds of different voices and even the smallest change in the ERC space, take long debates, years of debates. But in fact, ERC725, a standard I proposed in 2017, forms the foundation of universal profiles and the smart contract account system.
You created LUKSO essentially to be the better version of what Ethereum and what you were proposing in the early days.
It's the evolution.
It's the evolution, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, we made it up. Obviously, without that, there was a lot of, deep thinking going behind this, and also there was no experience. Like the chain, like Ethereum started like a few months before. There were barely any dApps at the time, so obviously we didn't have any really reference of what's the right way of doing things. But now, years later, I started this whole process in 2018. I mean, we had a lot of experience of what went wrong, what could we improve, how token standards should better work, what's the problem with UX, with wallets and so on. So yeah, that all, helped, informing the way, universal profiles work and also the new token standards that we defined. So they're kind of an evolution of ERC20 and 721, but also built in such a way that they nicely work with the smart contract account, the generic smart contract account, which is universal profiles. So with that, LUKSO is the first chain that is built from the ground up. I mean, as a chain, it's Ethereum, but the standards and the foundations are built from the ground up to work for social, to work for lifestyle, to work for creators, to work for communities at large. Because everybody is social by default if everybody has a profile as their wallet, right? Yeah. Everything you see on chain is kind of identifiable. Yeah. If you want to be identifiable, now you have a full profile.
Walk us through what is UP and why is it important right now, especially in this blockchain space where you have, a bunch of scammers, bunch of people just, impersonating people, and why identity and something like this is so important right now. Because I've seen the tech. I feel like for anyone watching, this is about to change the world. But I mean, from your own words, what is that? What is the background there in the tech standards that make this so special?
I mean, you have for the first time you have a smart contract account.
Yeah.
But this is not just
What is this a
smart contract account? Basically means that you have a more flexible wallet, if you will. If we're talking Web3 terms. Yeah. Currently you use a private key. And the address is the public key. So you can store assets and you can, interact with tokens and all kind of stuff on the blockchain, but you can't store information. You can't change the security because your private key is your password. That's not changeable. You can't react on any kind of incoming asset or anything that, somebody builds a protocol and your wallet can't react to this. You can't extend it with functionality. You have obviously, the problem that you need to pay transaction fees yourself. That means you first need to have the native token to do something. So it makes basically using blockchain quite cumbersome. And we all know this, when you talk to people and say, hey, here, want to do Web3, and then you need to give them the list of 5 steps they have to do, right? Mostly it's not fun because halfway through they're scared and think, oh my God, that's too complicated. Yeah. Let me wait, So when you make your account a smart contract account, you can now have all of these things. And it took quite a while for us to standardize this because it's so many, you need to really think 10 years into the future. You need to think, okay, what else could happen and that account still need to be able to do that. So how we make it the most generic? So the most important thing is actually you can manage it and you can change the way you manage it. So you can have multiple devices and different permissions and stuff like this. But really important is you need to be able to attach information. Because if you can't attach information, then any kind of social thing is always kind of a hack, right? So now with universal profiles, you can attach information. That's not only profile information, but it's also information that's like relevant for a protocol. Somebody wants to invent, a follower system, reputation, or any kind of protocol that, needs somehow to store information on your account. They can now, right? They can literally ask the user to do that. You can react on anything, you can even automate the way you react. This will like create a whole new way of, abilities of how you can automate anything. So your account can now basically automatically do stuff even if you're not there. Mm-hmm. React on tokens or protocols in whatever way you want to configure it. And you have the ability to extend it down the road should there be new features, missing or things that need to come. So all in all, it's a extremely versatile system. Mm-hmm. And every aspect of it is a standard. So it's literally built as a standard system.
Truly uncensored, fully open source, or not open source, but open.
It's totally open source,
and
it's open. Yeah. It's an open, very versatile standard.
Yeah.
I think this is the tricky part. What most people don't understand how difficult it is to standardize something that is unbiased enough, but also well defined enough. Like you need to find this balance because either you make it too specific, then it works for your app and for your whatever system you build, or you make it too generic and then it's literally nothing, right?
Yeah.
It needs to be this fine line, and I think we hit that line. It took 4 years to get there, so it was some deep thinking in there.
You've seen this vision years ago, and it's like, now is the time. Now is the time to actually bring this to the world.
It's coming. It's like LUKSO is a perfect time. I always say this because decentralized social, people will now realize that this is the next big thing. Yep. After DeFi and after the creator, NFT wave, it's now a social that's coming. But right now it's a hack. You connect the wallet to maybe an NFT or to some kind of other, identity system, and you have a disconnect between the one that's acting on chain and the actual, profile, right? These things can be interchanged and removed. So this connection is not solid, and that means it's hard to track someone. It's hard to really know who is who, right? If the ENS name can swap to a different wallet, like you lose history. You lose the verifiability, and you need to have like a detective on chain that tells you, hey, that was that address also belonged to this guy once, and then he did this, and smart contracts can't even read that, in any meaningful way right now. So it's very limited. It's very hacky. Mm-hmm. But I would say, let's go down and check out the floor below.
Yeah, for sure. This is a crazy office.
This is like, this is our space here.
I love to see more about what's going on over here. Who's the
who's the guy who's the guy on the floor?
This is the.
Okay, I think we can go down and then let's rolling.
Let's go. So where are we going here, Fabian?
So the cool thing is like our office has 2 floors. And one is basically the tech team upstairs, but we also have this beautiful community space, which is really like the idea of a place where we have the Granty projects and we have co-working space, and we can make meetups, right? So it's all about a nice space for the community together, because on the end it's all about the community, the builders, the creatives, to have a space to come together. In Ethereum we had kind of like an office that in a way functioned as a LUKSO, as a hub. That's why I created the LUKSO hub. The idea of having a space where people can gather. So
this is gonna become like a co-working.
So this is the co-working.
Right.
More co-working here. Grand room, phone booth, clouds. This pyramid here is basically in front of our office, which also fits nicely to LUKSO in the pyramid. So, but this is the sound space It's kind of an event space that has a specific shape so that the sound is really nice. So it's pretty cool. It's already in use now.
Nice. I mean,
the noise field of the city itself, you know, you have like the nice water there, and that gives you kind of like this the calm, you know, while at the same time you're in this kind of creative space. There's some creative studios over there, and yeah, it's a good spot for LUKSO.
what's your ideal scenario of community in a blockchain like LUKSO?
I mean, the interesting thing is, you know, like when we're looking at Ethereum, and you know what became possible through Ethereum is like build anything on a blockchain, right? And what we have seen in the last years is that kind of we've been at this kind of roof point. Like what's like the maximum? We stretch it all, you know. When it comes to tokens, we did DeFi, we did by now meme coins, you know. NFTs, everything happened, you know, that has something to do with tokens, but we never broke beyond that. And I think it's because we're missing identity. And, you know, a fun fact is, you know, ERC721, which is the standard behind the NFTs, was proposed like 2 weeks or a week before I proposed ERC725, which is the foundation for the smart contract account standard behind universal profiles. So that was already needed back then, you know. I mean, hence why kind of I standardized this. But it, you know, took us so long to really like refine it and build it out. And without identity, you know, like pretty much anything that like, you know, it's necessary for other people to join besides just traders, you know, is kind of missing and it's impossible. Like the UX was bad. This can be now really like well done. You can make actually accounts identifiable, which is extremely useful if you want to have a greater economy, if you want to have memberships, you know, if you want to have DAOs, where it's about community or people, you know, joining together in even a physical community, right? You want to know who's like coming into your place, right? You don't want to have just a bunch of like random addresses owning your membership and then you don't know who's behind it. Reputation is essential, you know, for humanity in general. So we need this identifiability and we need to have, you know, a proper foundation for that. So, I mean, everybody who wanted to build something, you know, on Ethereum in the last years that had to do with social or identity or, you know, DAOs or, you know, the whole region space, for example, anything of the creator space, you know, they need universal profiles, you know, and LUKSO is kind of the Ethereum with those new foundation building blocks.
What do you say to the people like the crypto maxis that are like, you know, Satoshi built this to hide my identity, you know, to be behind a string of code versus a name? I guess, does LUKSO tailor to those as well, or?
I mean, on the end, your profile, right? I mean, you have the same anonymity that you have on Ethereum, right? I mean, if you don't put your name and your face behind it and then go public and say, hey, that's my account, go follow me, you are just a profile with whatever pictures you choose, right? You're as anonymous as you want to be. Obviously, you know, no public verifiable blockchain that doesn't use zero knowledge proofs is anonymous. You know, they're all kind of transparent in a way. There will certainly be sidechains, you know, on LUKSO that have more zero knowledge proof kind of systems, and then you could have a private portion of yourself as well within those L2s on LUKSO. But your profile is inherently, you know, that's why I also call it a universal public profile. It's inherently public. It's on a public blockchain. If you want to be anonymous, just don't associate it with your name, right? Or use multiple profiles. I mean, people will probably have some for their public identity and others for their private personas, and that's okay.
I mean, you yourself, do you use multiple accounts, or you like to have your one identity?
I mean, I mainly use, you know, it's a bit of a fun fact because I actually never changed my identity except once in the internet. So the first time when I was chatting and I was 15, there was this chat window and I had to invent a name. So I came up with Frozeman as my like username. And I literally used that name up until today. I mean, even my GitHub username is still called Frozeman. The only time I ever shifted it was to Findura because the Twitter handle was already taken. And I then created a Twitter handle for my content management system that I built, you know, a few years ago. and it was called Findura. So now I have kind of two identities. Let's call it my first one is my coder identity, and Findura is my more like, founder identity. But I mean, hence why I'm more a fan of, like using, one profile. Obviously, I have some, private profiles, but other people might be, completely shifting all the time their identity and like that, like to have 5. I mean, it's up to anybody's choice, I guess.
The concept of identity is so like, I mean, especially in today's world, it's so, it's become very widespread now, right? I probably don't want to go into the specifics of where, I mean, we're here in Berlin too, right? So Berlin's a very open, free thinking society. But that's the benefit of a UP, is that you can literally be whoever you want on chain forever.
Nobody knows that you're a dog behind the keyboard.
Yeah.
I mean, on the end, universal profiles, it has the word profile in it, but a universal profile is extremely versatile. So it can function as a DAO.
Yeah.
A DAO should be a profile because now you have, a profile picture, websites, descriptions, maybe some posts you link from your DAO, and it's governed by a group of people. It can function as an organization, but it could also function as the identity of an AI or a robot, right? It totally works for a machine as well. Anything could have a profile or a smart contract account, if you will, down the road. So it's extremely versatile for what you want to use it. It's a very open system.
Right. So you're saying that you can make like an AI universal profile that can essentially act as an individual on chain, but it's completely
Absolutely.
AI.
I mean,
Wow.
the AI just need a way of how it hides its private key, and given that AI sometimes can be completely funky, I'm not sure if it will over time alter its private key. Then it will lose access, I guess. Or some way to control its profile. You can invent now many different ways to do that. But yeah, absolutely, AIs will have profiles, and then they can transact. Then they can gain reputation. Then they are identifiable.
Yeah.
If only that kind of computer has access to this profile, and the profile does something, this is him or it, however you want to call it.
Whoa. I mean, this is a big conversation now, right? Is there's going to be a point in the internet where you cannot tell the difference? Are you talking to an artificial intelligence, or are you talking to a human?
Yeah, I mean, this comes through reputation, and the cool thing is, if you have an on-chain profile, all your activity, you're moving something around, you're like interacting, even posts in the future will be signed by your profile. So you now create a history that is impossible to fake, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, I could go, if I'm the admin of a Facebook, of a database, I could go in and create an artificial persona. On a blockchain, I can't do that. I cannot go into the past and add transactions and things that happened. Mm-hmm. It either happened or it didn't happen, So now you have the ability to create literally systems where it's very clearly identifiable if that person is a real person, it lived long enough, you can attach any information. So you can even attach, a KYC data or third-party claims, say it's a human, proof of human, So you make these accounts identifiable because any information can be stored at them or referenced to them in some way. So it makes it all of this kind of stuff that we couldn't do in the last years in blockchain now becomes possible because we have that smart contract account system.
Right. I mean, the reason why it could not happen is because of those standards not being built.
Exactly.
In which you propose.
There were no standards.
Yeah.
And right now, the standards that are being debated in Ethereum, they all think about the gasless part and the execution part, but they're completely leaving out the information part, which is the most important one in order to make an account actually, something useful, right? Yeah. Interacting on-chain is one thing, and yes, that needs to be very, versatile, but you need to be able to read information from that account. And it should be hard linked together. You should not be able to remove that information down the road and switch your acting address, because then you lose the provenance, the credibility, and it's not verifiable anymore in that sense.
And a part that I remember you showing me was that you can also update, metadata as it's happening, but with that one identity.
Yeah.
Versus.
I mean, the owner of a profile
Yeah.
is the one who's in charge. And if that is a multi-sig, a voting contract, many different addresses with different levels of access, whoever's behind the profile, they can manage their profile. They can act through the profile, they can do stuff, they can own things, and they can update the metadata as they wish. It's their profile in the end, right?
These standards, so before it wasn't built, now, you've been working on it and building. Where do you see this going from here in terms of the evolution of these standards, and how, will these get more and more complex or easier for developers to start building on?
Oh, it becomes a lot easier. The foundation is there. The tricky part about how you build such a standard is you need to make sure that the foundation doesn't change. Same like you cannot change ERC20 anymore.
Right.
Like the wallets are built. They use the balance of function. They use the transfer function. Hence why once you get a network effect behind a standard, it's pretty much unchangeable. So you need to get it right from the beginning.
Right.
Hence why it took so long to get universal profiles, out of the door. Obviously, starting the LUKSO blockchain was one very important step, which worked really nicely. But you need to have the standards right, because changing them will be pretty much impossible. So that system needs to work for anything the next 10 years. And that's how they are built.
Yeah.
So now it's only about what kind of, controller app I want to build, what kind of wallet app I want to build, what kind of profile page I want to build, what kind of social network I want to build, what kind of D apps I want to build that use universal profiles or use just the power of a really sophisticated smart contract account. So now the sky's the limit, because the standards are built and they are right, and they have been audited and thought out for years.
Right.
There's nothing like it, so it's here, and now from here on it's now exploring. There's a lot of cool new standards we can build on top of the universal profile standards. There's just so much you can standardize on top of universal profiles on these accounts, how you react to stuff, what information you attach, how you extend it, what permission systems you want to have. The possibilities are endless of how you can extend this now.
Do you have any particular D apps in your mind that you would want to see built?
Oh, I would like to see a lot of social things built that use universal profile at its core, because it's now possible. You can literally build a decentralized social network that's not only built by a single party, but it's built by a lot of people and different protocols. Just plugging nicely into your profile, and now you have different websites showing the same social network. In fact, LUKSO is the social network. The LUKSO blockchain is the social network.
Yeah.
It's the database for the social network.
Yeah.
So from now on, it's just whatever, front ends and interfaces we build, whatever algorithm to filter things we build. And that now entails obviously economic transactions by default, because it's a blockchain, which is the creator economy.
LUKSO itself as a blockchain, if you look into detail, it is probably one of the only blockchains that's truly decentralized. What was the decision there?
It's Ethereum on the end. It's an Ethereum twin. So the network functions like Ethereum. And we took the development, that happens within the Ethereum space is the most sophisticated around when it comes around consensus and all of this tech. So LUKSO is Ethereum. We are lucky because it was started by around 170 nodes worldwide that we didn't run, so it's purely other people. We proposed the Genesis blocks. We actually gave people a choice to choose the total supply. They picked 42 million LUKS as a total supply. They started the network, and right now it has 140,000 validators run by a bunch of strangers we don't know.
Yeah. Tell me about this significant number, 42.
The 42, so we actually offered 38, 42, and 100 million was the initial proposal that we had, years ago. We wanted to reduce it in order to make sure that the foundation doesn't hold too many tokens, because that is a problem for a proof of stake network. So the community chose 42. The chain ID is also 42. And 42 is just the answer to the universe and everything, according to the Hitchhiker's Guide of the Galaxy. So.
Yeah.
It's a very important number. There's a lot of 42s in LUKSO.
Yeah.
It's
all-time high also 42.
Something around that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that number is definitely ingrained into the history of it, and you know.
Yeah, I mean 42 is important, but I mean on the end, it's about, you know, like the network is decentralized. That's very important.
Yeah.
If you are thinking about creating something where people really start to do things globally, online, on a social basis, on a community basis, you know, and on a economical basis, independence and decentralization is the utmost important foundation for that, right? We cannot have a true future decentralized network if a single small group of people can now just dictate, you know, who gets banned and what gets changed and whatever not. You need decentralization. And Ethereum is the most decentralized network that I'm aware of. And LUKSO does function the same way. So the moment traction comes on the network, the validator number will even go higher. And at some point, you know, you have the security of Ethereum as well, which is the benefit of being a new L1, plus obviously the network effect around the new standards.
Why is decentralization so important now more than ever, like in today's society?
I mean, number one, you know, convenience, because the internet is fragmented.
Yeah.
So you have, like, you know, accounts everywhere. You know, these accounts are not your accounts. You just have logins to another person's database at best, right? So you have to have a lot of accounts. You know, if apps close down, it's gone. If they kick you out because they don't like your opinion, it's gone. If you're economically depending on any of these systems and they kick you out, your livelihood is taken.
Yeah.
So you're basically in the situation where you know, the internet is hard to use because of the many passwords we need to remember and the many logins we need to have. So that's a convenience thing, but it's also the censorship problem, right? So I mean, opinions change, politics change.
Yeah.
It's fine if you like just go along and have no opinion, but the moment you have an opinion, it can get problematic. And that even has happened to a lot of big YouTubers, even just by accident, you know, stepping into the wrong opinion or doing the wrong thing here and suddenly account defunded, you know, or demonetized or canceled. It's massively problematic if specifically like platforms like YouTube, Google, you know, Twitter or X and Instagram, the ones where people really like come together and talk, if they have so much power in censoring, like this is the end of, you know, the free society.
Right.
We need to have a system that is uncensorable. And we need to find different ways of how we regulate ourselves as humanity. You know, be it about choosing the filter algorithms you want to have, or be it about you know, having a collective, more safe and more decentralized way of agreeing to content or safeness of content, and not just having a department in a company that now dictates the truth.
Right.
So decentralization is at the essence of anything we want to do in the internet in the future.
Yeah.
We need that decentralized foundation. That's essential.
100%. I mean, just happening with a lot of creators right now. They're getting banned left and right for just speaking their thoughts that doesn't agree with ex-employee at the you know, big firm. Where do you see current social media, like things like Twitter right now with Elon kind of opening it up, like all these different social medias, TikTok, Facebook? Where do you see this system? Like, is it flawed in certain ways that where you would like to see the evolution of this on LUKSO, where people are creating better versions of this, or what are your thoughts there?
I mean, ultimately it depends, you know, on, like, for example, X or other platforms, if they will plug into these systems down the road. But once people realize that a decentralized account, that's one account you can have for multiple platforms, that is fully yours, that is can transact, you know, globally, that this is the better account. So once people realize this, there will be a lot of people switching to those accounts, and we'll have them as well. Obviously, we need apps, you know. We need apps that showcase that power of this account system. And eventually, you know, platforms like this will be probably also be compatible. I mean, I think long term there is a shift towards decentralization no matter what. So every platform who doesn't decentralize in some way will disappear. Once we have the more scalable versions of a YouTube that's decentralized, people will go there, right? I mean, right now they stay at YouTube for convenience reasons.
Right.
But the creators, even the $1 million follower creators are already very unhappy with the arbitrary demonetization of certain videos.
Yes.
Yeah. And if we find and build systems that are better, they need a blockchain account and under the hood. Universal Profile is that blockchain account.
Right. Theoretically, with these standards, you're going to be able to essentially build a following, and that following essentially follows you to any D-app.
It's already outside of any platform.
Yeah.
It's basically just inside. It's with your profile. Your profile is detached from any service online.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
And let's say you do lose your account, there's a future where someone else can come and recover you as well.
There's many ways you can build recovery. I mean, right now by default, you can have a centralized recovery system where basically we and a custodian holds a key and they can recover your profile. You can add, MetaMask and a ledger as a recovery. There will be a social recovery system coming out, but all of this is now upgradable and changeable. So anybody could invent the whatever most decentralized recovery idea and just plug it into someone's profile and just ask them, hey, attach this recovery system to your profile, and now you have the recovery built in. Okay. It's not anymore about, hey, this is like one standard with 5 possibilities. It is completely open, versatile platform with any possibility.
Right.
It's a bit hard to understand, because smart contracts feel so kind of constrained sometimes, but a lot of things can be built now that were like not even thinkable before. Yeah. Because of the way, wallets work as pure private keys.
Right. And you saw this from day one, that this was something that Ethereum itself wasn't doing.
No, I mean, I saw that this, in fact, I mean, it was pretty clear to everyone, right? Working at Ethereum, that obviously we should go and abstract away from private keys and we should, have smart contract accounts. Yeah. That was clear. I mean, even Jeffrey Wilke, like the guy who created Go Ethereum, like one of the most used client in Ethereum. The first thing he said when we built the Mist browser, we should not expose the public keys. We should only use smart contract accounts. And he was right back then, 2015, March. Yeah. But there was obviously no standard for it, and it was way, way, way too early. Yeah. But 7 years later and 3 years, 4 years down into the development of this standard, it's now here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing different. Solana just launched Smart Connect, Coinbase, so everyone's...
Yeah, everybody's catching up to the idea. Yeah. But their systems are extremely early.
Right. And LUKSO, I mean...
is a whole different level.
Yeah. It's the next...
It's going to be clear to people once developers dive in.
Right. What the reason behind, choosing office here in Berlin, is it because you were... living here originally, or?
Yeah, I mean, we were based here. Actually, a friend of ours, he had the second floor, and he offered us to sub-rent from his second floor. It was the NOAA, No Ordinary Agency, and then he moved out. We overtook the office, and we expanded to these floors because this is like the community space, and the tech team is upstairs, and now it's the LUKSO hub.
Yeah, and future of this, do you see multiple offices around the world, or you just want to keep this one?
I mean, here? Totally. When LUKSO expands, there should be LUKSO hubs everywhere in the world.
Yeah, and like to enter, would you do like a UP token gating?
Token gating, exclusive
LUKSO.
I mean, obviously you want to have a universal profile if you are building on LUKSO. That's essential. Yeah. But yeah, this could be all like run through tokenization and profiles. Absolutely.
How do you see this changing like society itself in terms of like, imagine all event spaces started using this sort of authentication system? Do you see LUKSO getting to that stage where it's like...
Absolutely. I mean, LUKSO is a programmable blockchain. Anything you can do that somehow needs an account, a user profile, in whatever you want to build. I mean, entertainment industry is like perfectly for that, right? I mean, you have artists, they want to engage with their fans, but they also want to create a collective and a community around the fan base. And right now, how you do that, you have the tickets that are sold on a separate platform. You have your followers on your social media. You can't really tell who's like a more engaged fan versus a less engaged fan. because a follower number is just a number, right? But through tokenization, basically artist tokens, meaning that you can like give them or make them earnable through participating, going to a concert, going to a show of yours, participating online in some way, being in a Discord server. Through that you can basically engage your community, and eventually who's like a strong holder. He earned a lot, right? That's somebody you care more about than the one who basically is kind of new. And then you can do all kind of things. You can let them in backstage. That's very easy to authenticate. Once people walk around with their profiles, you can easily authenticate what they have and what they don't have. Anything in that kind of sense is possible. Engagement, in general, will completely change the way we do it today, because the universal profile is universal. It's across platforms. Anybody can just read that data and interact with it. So it would change. Like we call it back in the day, we called it fame. Fashion, arts, music, entertainment. But I mean, all of this is social by default, and that's how we connect online. So,
yeah, interesting. And I mean, do you see a world where people will be able to, essentially, all creators will be able to monetize their profiles in a way that can interact more closely with their communities, like they can do right now on social media?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, if everybody has a profile, it's more about the platforms and the windows that people build, looking into what these profiles do. And if it's token based, if it's membership based, if it's just like participating in conversations, being part of certain communities, everything is possible. So I'm really looking forward to the new world built on universal profiles and what people will come up with.
Yeah. What's your favorite standard at the moment you guys been working with? Future.
I mean, all of them are really awesome. Actually, the thing is, my favorite standard is ERC725, X and Y. This is the essence of everything. Actually, ERC725Y is my favorite standard. But on the end, all of these standards, are really the foundation to build even more standards. So it's going to be exciting to once you see people doing more complex things on top of the basic building blocks that we build and the foundations we build.
Right. So this is it's a never-ending project. It's going to keep building on itself.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. This is just very much the beginning of it.
Yeah. Do you see this carrying forward? I mean, in the far future, when Fabian is evolved, do you see LUKSO evolving into something much more than just what a blockchain is? Or
I mean, LUKSO, I think LUKSO itself, it's already a movement,
Yeah.
If you look at our community and how engaged and how dedicated they have been following us for years, it's already its own movement, and kind of like that's what LUKSO is. It's kind of like this movement and this idea of creating a better internet, a new global community, focused around creativity and creators. And network states and social and anything that connects us as people. So LUKSO is certainly more than just a network and its standards already.
Yeah, it's a bigger play. I guess for any creators, any founders, any developers that are trying to build, what would you tell them in terms of lessons you've learned along the journey of building? How would you do things differently if you were to start now?
I mean, it's being a founder is you kind of learn how to become a leader and how to be a founder, along the way, while you have to manage everything and jungle everything around. I think building up a more strong marketing and communication team earlier on that is able to communicate the technology the right way, it definitely would have been more helpful. So that's something that's what we are doing now more. But the technology was the focus early on, and that was the essence.
And this is something, for 5 years of building, there wasn't really a focus on getting attention. It was building the best tech,
Making sure the essence is there, because the thing is, you can always, just shill an idea, but don't have it,
right?
Or make it look bigger than it is, but eventually people find out, right?
Yeah.
Once people want to use it, once the developers come and they want to build on it, they see, okay, that's just a hot air balloon. The foundation needed to be right. And once the foundation is there, then it makes sense to communicate. And that's the state we are in right now. The network is there, fully decentralized already. And the standards are there. And they are ready and they're out there. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we will build. There's a mobile app coming. There's integrations of all sorts, bridges, all of these things will come. But the foundation are there and it's right. And now it's about, go use it. Go build it. Go discover, this technology.
End it off with this. LUKSO in 3 words. What is it?
I mean, I would say it's social culture and creators, but it's also, like unification, because we're unifying your online experience ultimately, with a universal profile. That's why everything is called universal something, There's universal swaps, there's universal profiles, there's universal page, the NFT marketplace, everything is universal. And all of these things are not even created by us, except universal profiles. So it's about unification, right? If you make things that are universally accessible and universally usable, that's when things become really, really interesting.
Boom. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for the conversation. And
Thank you, Max.
we'll leave it for the next one.